So people who are appropriating love to say things like, my friend is from X country and she doesn't mind that I wear X. So in this case, it would be, my friend is from India and she doesn't mind that I wear bindis. And that's where that conversation of intersectionality comes into play. Black, Indigenous, and people of color in their home countries have had this really beautiful privilege of being able to grow up in their own cultures. And they haven't had to deal with the racism of Anglophones as much as their counterparts in Anglophonic places. And so BIPOC who have grown up in these spaces in places like Canada and the UK and America and South Africa, Australia, all of these people have a different relationship with Anglophones and their racism compared to their counterparts who don't have to deal with them on the daily basis. Because in their home country, and let's use South Asia as an example, we'll use India specifically, their culture is the dominant one. And so anybody who comes into that country needs to assimilate into that culture. Outsiders have to come into these countries and dress in their cultural clothing, they have to learn to speak the language, and they have to follow the practices of that cultural group. And so again, people who have grown up in their home countries are generally more accepting of cultural appropriation because they see it as a sign of assimilation into their dominant culture. And so to them, it's an appreciative gesture. They're like, oh wow, she loves her culture so much, she wants to wear a bindi, this is great. But BIPOC who have grown up in Anglophonic countries will often have something different to say on the matter of culture appropriation. They've been the minority culture who's been surrounded by a dominant culture who have ridiculed them for their culture and religious practices. So when that dominant culture then wants to take elements from that minority culture that, again, those minorities have been ridiculed for, it leaves a really bad taste in the mouth. And that's why I think that conversations of cultural appropriation are often better handled by actual folks who have grown up in Anglophonic spaces. Because they've been the minority in so many of these situations, they really see cultural appropriation for what it is and what's been happening. And let's not trip, they are the ones who have to deal with the consequences of Anglophones who want to culturally appropriate, not folks back home.